everyone, and welcome to the TomWasHere pretty dormant Halloween haunts channel. I always want to do more with this channel, but I'll be honest, between work, between life, between things that get in the way, it is tough to navigate two channels. I wish I was multiplicity and I could have multiple people working on these channels. So many other videos would be out. I have such a backlog on things, but I've decided I'm going to do at least short reviews of all the haunts we visited this year for the TomWasHere Halloween Haunt channel. It's what I kind of set out to do when I created that. Instead of having a video that has the entire walkthrough of some of these haunts and then kind of a lengthy review where I talk about them as well, I decided to separate them, whereas you're going to get the walkthrough and then you're going to get the discussion about it. So this particular one is from our first visit of the haunt season. It was Kennywood. It was Phantom Fall Fest 2025. And, I went into Phantom Fall Fest 2025 with some trepidation. I was something where, Phantom Fall Fest 2024 was not particularly the greatest experience. It was my wife's first time there. It was a Saturday night on opening weekend, and it was particularly busy. As such, it was not a great experience overall. There weren't a ton of scare actors in any of the zones. It just wasn't a great experience last year. So I had some concerns going in this year. Plus, there's the added thing, and don't shoot the messenger like some of you have posted on my main video for Phantom Fall Fest, that this could particularly be the end of Phantom Fall Fest as we know it, because Hershen doesn't do adult-themed haunted events at their parks. They just don't. So like I said, this is just me speculating. This is not me saying for sure this is happening. I hope it doesn't happen. As much as I've criticized Phantom Fall Fest for various things in the past, it's not something that I want to, go away. I enjoy Phantom Fall Fest. I've been going since 2017, every year, usually on opening weekend. So, there's a concern that this could be the last year forward, and I hope that's not the case. But did want to address that as the elephant in the room. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that some of you seem to think that I'm critical of Kennywood just to be critical. Like I just particularly do this, and I'm not critical of any other park or any other haunt. It's just Kennywood, and that's simply not the case. I will occasionally point out criticisms when they're valid, and I feel that that's the case for Kennywood. Now, does Kennywood decide? Have they decided that I'm persona non grata there? Because I did reach out to them because I thought maybe it's the last year. Maybe they let me film some of the haunts because this potentially is the last year it could be held in that thing. And it's not like they haven't given this permission to other channels in the past, because they have. So I thought, let's reach out, let's see. But clearly I am on Kennywood's naughty list. They have decided that they don't want anyone that has any criticisms of any kind, especially me. I seem to be the figurehead for this. I think my face is on a dartboard somewhere in the Kennywood offices. They just particularly don't like me. I don't know what I said or what they've decided is so bad about the criticism I've made. As I mentioned, this is my local park. I've been coming to Kennywood my entire life. If I sit here and I tell you that everything about Kennywood Fall Fest and everything about Kennywood is great, and you're going to have the best time there, and you're going to love it, and then you stumble onto the same criticisms that I have stumbled on over the years, and you come back to me and you go, what's this? You said this would be great, and there'd be no issues, and everything would be fine, and then there's this and this and this. What am I supposed to do in that regard? I certainly point out criticisms when they're valid. And in regards to Fall Fest, in the past few years, there have been valid criticisms. Now, if you watched my entire Phantom Fall Fest video for 2025, I feel that Kennywood, and once again, consider I'm not some juggernaut on YouTube by any stretch. I can't assume it's just me. I'm sure they get feedback from a ton of places. But they took some of the criticisms that I have given over the years, and they found a way to correct them. That's great. That's terrific. If we all sat here as a collective and we decided that we're not going to say another bad thing about anything that goes on in this world, and everybody can do whatever they want, and we'll just pay for it and shut up. No, I feel like if you're a valid paying customer and you pay for an experience and it falls short or something about it's not right, you should let people know, and that company should open their arms to criticism. Now, If by me criticizing, that means I'm not allowed to film haunted houses and I don't get any sort of preferential treatment by them to do that, I'm not asking them for tickets. I'm not asking them, I paid for a ticket. I paid for a season pass. I'm not asking them for that. I'm just saying, will you allow me in there to film some of these haunted houses, thing. And maybe you feel, maybe they feel, maybe the vast majority of people feel that because I've been critical in the past that I'm just simply not allowed to have this happen. That if you're a Kennywood vlogger, you have to be all sunshine and rainbows and there's nothing bad about Kennywood. There's no criticisms whatsoever and everything's great. Which, for me personally, I don't understand that myself. Many people, including people that commented on the Kennywood video, have been critical of the things I said. And I'm willing to meet those criticisms head on. In fact, here's one I would like to formally walk back. For many years, and this was a frustration that had built up for many years, prior to 2020, Voodoo Bayou would be open on opening weekend. I know because we would always go opening weekend. And we have been in Voodoo Bayou before because we go almost every opening weekend. But since 2020, Voodoo Bayou has not been open on opening weekend. It just has not. Now, someone pointed out, and this is very fair, and I had not thought about this because this was past few years kind of bubbling up, that they have opened earlier than ever. And they had only closed officially on a weekday park as of Labor Day, and they were open for Phantom Fall Fest on September 12th. So they may not have had time to properly set up Voodoo Bayou. And that's understandable. And that's no criticism on the people that work there, because there's a lot of things seem to get mixed up in the sauce, that I'm somehow criticizing the workers, and I'm criticizing these people that work hard to make Kennywood Fall Fest what it is. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I understand the effort that it takes to put up these houses and do all these things. I'm just saying that, in previous years when they had a month to do so, Voodoo Bayou had not been open on opening weekend like it had been prior to the pandemic. I feel that's a fair criticism. Now, because of this year, because they opened up so early, I cannot completely understand why they don't have it open just yet. It's just not ready, which is fine. And it wasn't open this past weekend as well. I didn't go, but people commented and told me that it wasn't open this past weekend. So the first 2 weekends it hasn't been open. But my problem and my criticism, and I feel this is fair criticism, if someone can let me know why it's not fair, please do. Why are they running with promotions saying they have 6 haunted houses? Because you don't have 6 haunted houses. Not yet. Voodoo Bayou's not open because I know people that have come to the park sometimes traveled a considerable distance to go to the park. It's from different states, different time zones, to come to this park to experience everything Fall Fest has to offer, and then they walk up to Voodoo Bayou and go, I didn't see anything that says it was closed. Well, that's because Kennywood doesn't put out anything that says it's closed. You'd think they'd be more transparent in that regard. But once again, that's a criticism, and that's the thing that keeps them from responding to me to film haunted houses, because I can't point out the obvious. I can't point out things that people that were paying money would actually want to know, because they don't want that, apparently. So, foolish of me to do so. The other thing is that, if it's something where I have to play ball the way they want me to play ball and not criticize them at all, that they can't open their mind up to maybe inviting someone out who has been critical of them to kind of, I'm not saying, let me clarify once again, I know my place, and I'm just a guy. I'm not someone that says Kennywood demands, I demand an explanation from Kennywood that explains all this. No, but I think, for me personally, when people are critical, as mentioned, people are critical of me in comments and in various forms, I do respond. I don't just ignore them. I do respond to their criticisms, and sometimes they have a valid criticism. They have a valid criticism that I have taken into and implemented into the channel. Sometimes it's like, oh, you don't show prices, and then I remember to show prices, and then of course sometimes I forget to do that, and I get the same criticisms again, and I understand that. So what I'm saying is that if I was running Kennywood, and there was someone like me that was criticizing them for things, And I'm not saying sitting here and going like, oh, the park sucks, they suck, management's awful, I'm not saying any of these things. I'm saying, here's a situation with Kennywood. There's certain things that I feel have to be addressed. If they take that as some big slight on them, then I guess we're at an impasse. Like I can't sit here and say everything's just sunshine and rainbows. How will they ever even think to get better if no one criticizes? And if they go, okay, well, because we're giving you permission to film, we don't want any of your criticisms anymore. That seems, like I said, I don't feel I'm being overly harsh on them. Do you? If you feel that, let me know in the comments down below, and point out the comments that I made about Kennywood that have been particularly harsh. I know I'm going back and forth with someone, as of the time of this recording, who was saying how when I went to Hershey Park, it's the latest video on my TomWasHere channel, that I wasn't nearly as critical of Hershey Park than I was of Kennywood. And he's right. That's correct. But let me clarify that. When I went to Hershey Park, it was my first time going there since I was a child. So it's all new to me. So I don't have the years and years and years of time spent in that park to nitpick all the criticisms. But also, I was critical in several aspects of Hershey Park. One, it was way crowded. Two, the fast passes were, in my opinion, higher priced than what they should be. In fact, most fast passes are higher priced than what they should be. As of that night, it was $80. I think Kennywood's is that high. It's not, unfounded that way. Some of the haunts were shorter than I wanted them to be. And there was a scare zone I walked through where I didn't see any scare actors whatsoever. Those are valid criticisms. And I've given these same valid criticisms with Kennywood as well when I point out things that I feel that they should be able to do better. Is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? Is that enough for Kennywood to just decide not to respond? Because the one thing I can say is Hershey Park did respond. Hershey Park didn't just respond, they responded. They offered to invite us out. They offered that we can film content. They did all these things, and they didn't know my channel. Kennywood knows my channel. They've confirmed that they know my channel. They've confirmed that people that are in these senior positions have watched the channel and do know the channel. So the fact is they've decided they don't like me. At least that's how it's perceived. They don't like, there's something I said or something I did that was the point of no return for them, and they can't look past it and attempt to, because I would address my people head on. Like, I know not everybody likes me. I know that, almost every time I put out a video, either someone unsubscribes or I get a dislike on it. You don't like the video, but at least back it up. Back it up, why? Because you might have a valid concern that I could address. I could actually make myself better if your concern is valid. But if you don't, and you just dislike, well, I got nothing to go on. But in Kennywood's circumstance, I'm coming here and I'm saying, hey, I want to film content for the channel. I have some haunts and things like that. And if they were really secretive on haunts, they didn't want anybody filming haunts, I would completely understand. And if they responded and say, hey, unfortunately, we're not interested this time around, I'd be disappointed, but I would completely understand and respect them for responding. But they don't respond at all. Other parks do. Other parks responded right away. And you might say, oh, you didn't criticize the park like you criticized those parks. And you're right. You're right, I haven't. But, you would think you'd want the person who reaches out, who criticizes, especially not harshly. Like some of you treat Kennywood like it's your kid or something, like I'm insulting your son or your daughter. I'm not. This is the local park we all grew up in, and sometimes there are things to be addressed. They don't do everything. They're not infallible. I'm not infallible. Please point it out to me if like I said, when I said the thing about Voodoo Bayou being open, that was years of frustration that it hadn't been open on opening weekend. And when someone pointed out to me they opened earlier than ever, I went, whoops, you're right, you're absolutely right. And I walked it back. But Kennywood can't possibly reach out to walk my, they can't be like, hey, look, I know you've been critical of the past, but let's say invite you out to, like a behind the scenes, something like that. Explain kind of what goes into some of these haunts. Wouldn't that be something? No, I'm not asking for that. It's not a requirement by any stretch. I'm just saying, you'd think, if it were me, I'd want not just the people that like me, but some of the critics too, to be able to, be in the fold, I guess you could say. Be able to, reach out to, talk to kind of address their criticism, see why they're saying the things they're saying, address why, and see if maybe there can come to some understanding. Maybe there are things I don't know. Maybe I'm talking completely out of left field, that I'm talking about something that I feel that I have good knowledge on, and they're saying, no, you have no knowledge on that. You don't know what you're talking about because this. And I'd be like, oops. And I would happily walk it back. I'm not a detractor to Kennywood. In fact, people have come up to me in the park, and people have commented on social media, and they have said, hey, I came to the park because I watched your video Fall Fest, or I came to this because I watched your video. That hundreds of thousands of views, that's no exaggeration, I have in Kennywood on this channel. Hundreds of thousands of views. And so many comments, people that have reached out, where they agree with my assessment or not. And I'm happy to address whether you think I'm being harsh or critical or just completely out of, saying all this hurtful things apparently about Kennywood, when really all I'm trying to do is improve the park that we all grew up with. Maybe you don't see it that way. Maybe Kennywood doesn't see it that way. And it's unfortunate. But I'm not going to change the way I do things. And if that means I'm persona non grata at any of these behind the scenes, and I'm not able to film content when you've had other people do it, that's fine. If that's what you feel, that's fine. What can I do? But let's get, I was ranting for a little bit. Let's actually get into the Kennywood event for this year, 2025. As stated, I went in 2024. It was my wife's first time. She'd not been there for Phantom Fall Fest, and she, like me, was left wanting. It was a disappointing experience. There were not a ton of scare actors. There were not a ton of scare actors in the haunts. They were in weird places. It just was an off year for them. So I was concerned heading into this year, and I was happy to see that they'd improved on many new things. They improved on a bunch of different things, including having a slew of haunt actors in their respective haunt areas. Your Hellbilly, your clown section, even the Midway had a bunch of different scare actors in there. That wasn't the case last year. That was this year. They also finally added a new haunt over many years. Now, the last haunt they had added was Malice in Wonderland. It was only a few years old, but this particular year they got rid of Villa the Vampire. But Villa the Vampire was as much as I liked it the first few times I went through it, once you've been through it for 8-10 years, it's old, it's tired. You gotta at least adapt it or change it or improve it or do something with it. So I like that they did that with they did that, and they upgraded it to Detached. Detached is a themed haunted house, including a great facade that they put up. I like the facade they put up. I think it hits the vibe. I think it looks great. I like the inside of the haunt. I thought that looked great. I thought the actors were on point. They had a boatload of actors in there. I thought they did really well with that option. I think that's something that they, if they did that with almost every haunted house, they would really have a nice event there. Like I said, there's houses that have been there for some time that, haven't really been changed all that much in some time. So I'm glad they got rid of Villa. I'm glad they improved it to Detached, and it's a better experience overall. Now, the wait times, just like the wait times at any other park, were lengthy because it's a new haunt. And as such, any haunt in a theme park is not worth, say, a 45-minute to an hour-long wait for a 5 to 7-minute experience. It's just not. So in this circumstance, I thought Detached was pretty good. I would have liked it if I had to wait half the time. Now, you could say, well, you could buy fast passes and then your wait's much quicker, and you'd be right. But those fast passes are pretty expensive, and they're expensive in every park. And personally, in my opinion, Kennywood, I don't think you particularly need it unless it's an exceptionally busy night. With other parks, they're much bigger, a lot more people. It might be essential. Whereas Kennywood, it may not be, but read the room on that. But yeah, Detached we went through first, and we really dug it. We thought it was a pretty cool themed haunt. Like I said, it was, definitely, they said it's their most extreme haunt to date, and I believe it. I think they did a lot of cool stuff in there. Definitely adult themed, adult oriented for sure. And then I was pleasantly surprised by Dark Shadows. I haven't been through Dark Shadows in a few years, because the last time I went through Dark Shadows, there was like 2 scare actors through the entire thing, and there wasn't much to it other than the fact it was dark. This time around, they had a boatload of scare actors in there, and they were good, and they were in unexpected places, and they did some solid scares in there. And that's really what you're looking for, ultimately. So I thought that was pretty good as well. The one I was most surprised by was Kennyville Cemetery, because Kennyville Cemetery is the same haunt it's been forever. They've hardly made any improvements or changes or adjustments to that at all. And in this particular one, they had, right from the jump, right when you walk through the gate, they had scare actors doing different things. You know how much of a different experience it is when you have a scare actor? If you've been going through the same haunt for years and years and years and years and years, and people may ask, I've had people ask over the years, they're like, why do you go to the same places every year? You go to new places for haunt season, but you also go to some of the same ones. You know why I go to the same ones? Because it's an unexpected experience each time. The path may be the same. The facade may be the same. The walkthrough may be the same. But they have actors doing different things in different places. They have different stories to tell. They have different outfits. They have different... You don't really know what to expect. Even though it's the same experience that you've experienced in previous years, it's a different experience overall because they put haunt actors in different spots. And that's the case here as well. In Kennyville Cemetery, they put different actors in different spaces, and it made for an overall better experience as a result. They had them doing new and interesting things. In fact, the lady in the water, for many years, she was just lady in the water, and she'd come out and she'd do the walk and thing. But she was having full conversations with everybody up there. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen the lady in the water talk before. That's at least slightly different. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to make it something different. It doesn't take much. But for the years and years and years, it would always be the same, stale thing. And when you go through a new haunt, anywhere, you go through a new haunt, you're like, wow, that's great. Then you go through that same haunt again, and it's exactly the same. You're like, okay, that's great, but there was there's a reason, there's a criticism here and there. Because you've been through it before, you kind of know what it is. But if they change it up every year, and you don't know what to expect, it's a different vibe. It feels different. It is different. Even though the path's the same, even though the drop wall boos are the same, it's different because you put things in different places. That's all it takes. And Kennywood listened in that regard. And they made it a different experience. And they had a boatload of haunt actors in both the haunts and the scare zones, which is a great thing. They listened to criticisms, not just by me, but by plenty of other people, and they made adjustments accordingly. Because that's how it should be. And if they watched the video, they heard the criticisms, they made adjustments based on that. And if I have to fall on the sword that they won't let me film in haunted houses because I've been critical, then so be it. I made Kennywood Fall Fest a better experience as a result. No, I'm not the only one. Like I said, I'm sure you people have responded on the survey, told them, did different ways to communicate them, put it in posts, put it in posts, put it in videos, put it in reviews. I know it's not just me. But if I'm the one to fall on this sword, if they decide I'm persona non grata because I've been critical of them, even though as a result of many criticisms they made their event better, so be it. I'll happily take that. But Phantom Fall Fest, pretty darn good. Like I said, a good overall experience, better than it's been in the past few years, by making simple changes. Do I wish Voodoo Bayou was open? Yes. Do I criticize the workers for not having it open 2 weeks after they close for the season? Absolutely not. Do I criticize a marketing team who still runs with it is 6 haunted houses, even though they only have 5 for the first 2 weeks they were open. Yeah. And I think that's something that they could fix or address and just say, hey, the spirits of the bayou need a little bit more work. So we're going to officially open Voodoo Bayou for haunt season on September 27th. That's all they had to do. That's all they had to do. They did not do that, and they could have, but that's all they had to do. So, let me know your thoughts on Kennywood Fall Fest as a result. For me personally, I thought the scare zones were pretty good this year. They have some fun actors throughout. I think all the actors do a pretty darn good job at Kennywood. I particularly liked Detached. I thought Detached was pretty good. I don't think it was necessarily worth an hour-long wait, but I don't think really anything at Kennywood or really any other amusement park is worth, say, an hour-long wait for a few-minute experience. That's just me. But let me know your experience at Kennywood. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I would love to know in the comments down below. You can let me know, and let me know, if I'm wrong, that you feel all I do is unfairly criticize Kennywood and I don't criticize anything else in the same way. Let me know. Let me know in those comments. Let me know if it's something that you feel that I'm so wrong against Kennywood, even though all I'm doing is trying to get them to improve and make it a better park experience. And based on this past year, like I said, I'm not taking credit for it. I'm just one cog in a wheel. But I do feel they made improvements to make that park better. But guys, thanks so much for watching. If you are new here, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Like support me on Patreon like John Bailey, like Brett Persing. Like Fan, you can do so. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, a TomWasHere t-shirt, or sweatshirt, you can do so. It's Spreadshirt, as well as links to my eBay store, Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, Arena Club. Links are in the description below. But when it comes to a review discussion, maybe a little bit of ranting about Kennywood Fall Fest 2025 from the TomWasHere Halloween Haunts channel, we will see you in the next review/discussion. Thanks so much for watching.